Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an ancient myth that's about way more than just a hunt for some priceless treasure. We're talking about the Syamantaka Jewel. It's this legendary gem from Hindu mythology that basically became the ultimate test of character for anyone who got near it. So yeah, this isn't just a story about a gem, it's about what happens when unbelievable power lands right in human hands.
So what made this jewel so special? Well, get this. Imagine having an object that churned out a huge amount of pure gold every single day for whoever held it. I mean, we're talking an endless, untraceable fortune. But as we're about to find out, a gift that powerful, it always comes with a price.
And that right there is the real heart of this whole story. See, the jewel isn't just a gift, it's a moral stress test. It all boils down to this one question: what's the true cost of absolute power? When you literally have everything you could ever want, what does that really say about who you are?
Okay, so our story kicks off, like a lot of these tales do, with what looks like a miraculous gift. But this gift had a shadow side, and it didn't take long for it to become a really heavy, really dangerous burden.
The first owner we meet is a nobleman, a guy named Satrajit, and he gets the jewel straight from the sun god Surya. Instantly, it becomes the most coveted thing in the entire kingdom. And we're not just talking about admiration here, you know? This was that deep, burning kind of envy from anyone who even heard about its power.
And just like you'd guess, the jewel brought Satrajit just unbelievable prosperity. This fire hose of wealth and success should have been a blessing for the whole kingdom, right? But it came with a hidden challenge: the responsibility to actually use it wisely.
And this is where we see Satrajit's biggest flaw come out: pure avarice. His obsession with the wealth was it was all-consuming. It completely blinded him to any of the duties that came with that kind of power. All he could see was the gold, not the good he could do with it.
And this just sets up the core conflict of the whole story perfectly. On one side, you've got Satrajit, who's driven by greed, avarice, and this constant need for eminence, for high status. And on the other side, you've got the city's wise ruler, Krishna, who's all about sagacity, that's deep wisdom, and keeping the community in harmony. Their values were heading for a major collision.
Krishna could see the tension building, so he gave Satrajit a pretty direct warning. He was afraid that hoarding all that wealth wouldn't bring him more status, it would just lead to chaos and calamity, a total disaster for everyone. And Satrajit's response? He refused. Flat out.
And just like Krishna predicted, disaster struck. An ugly accusation gets thrown around, and now Krishna himself has to go on this desperate quest to find the truth and clear his own name.
So here's the big turning point. Satrajit's brother, Prasenna, borrows the jewel to go on a hunt, and he never comes back. Satrajit, just stewing in his own paranoia, immediately starts a rumor that Krishna stole it. And the accusation wasn't just theft, it was that he did it out of malice, a vicious, calculated desire to hurt him. Suddenly, Krishna's entire reputation is on the line.
But Krishna knew he was innocent, and he was not going to let that lie stand. He vowed to find that jewel and restore his honor with absolute tenacity. And this wasn't just some casual promise. It was this persistent, unstoppable determination that sent him off on a dangerous quest for the real story.
So Krishna's investigation plays out like some kind of ancient detective story. First, he finds Prasenna's body, and it looks like he was killed by a lion. Okay, so he follows the lion's tracks, only to find the lion is also dead, but it was killed by a giant bear. The trail of clues leads him onward, right to the mouth of a dark cave. Inside that cave, he finds the legendary bear king, Jambavan. And Jambavan's child is just playing with the glowing jewel like it's a toy. Jambavan, this incredible warrior himself, had no idea about the jewel's true provenance. Its chaotic backstory and all the trouble it had just caused. To him, it was just a shiny rock.
So picture this. Krishna's honor is hanging by a thread. The only way to get it back is to take the jewel from a legendary guardian who's convinced it belongs to him. The stage is absolutely set for an epic showdown.
What happens next is the climax of the entire story. It's this incredible trial by combat, fought deep inside a mountain cave. Now, Jambavan was no pushover. He was a being of immense power and legendary valor. His bravery was the stuff of legends. And in his eyes, Krishna wasn't a hero clearing his name. He was just a thief trying to steal his treasure. The battle was on, and it was fierce from the very first moment.
That fight raged on for an unbelievable 28 days straight. This wasn't just a test of raw strength, it was a test of pure fortitude. It was about finding that mental and spiritual strength to keep going in the face of just impossible odds. Because day after day, neither one of them would give an inch.
Finally, after 28 brutal days, an exhausted Jambavan looked at his opponent and saw something more than just a man. He recognized Krishna's divine nature, and in that instant, he understood his own folly, the sheer foolishness, the recklessness of having challenged a deity. Just like that, the fight was over.
But here's the thing. Where a lesser hero might have wanted revenge, Krishna showed true benevolence. He acted with incredible kindness and generosity, forgiving the Bear King and respecting his strength. And it was that act of grace, not the fight itself, that truly restored harmony and finally allowed Krishna to take the jewel.
And so, with the jewel finally in hand, Krishna returns. But the story isn't quite done, because the jewel's last and most important lesson is about to be taught, not just to Satrajit, but to everyone.
When Krishna handed the jewel back to Satrajit, the nobleman was just shattered by what he'd done. He was filled with this deep, sincere contrition, a profound regret for his greed and for the terrible lies he spread. Totally humbled, he didn't just apologize. He offered his own daughter, Satyabhama, in marriage to try and mend the peace his greed had nearly destroyed.
In the end, the jewel's legacy had absolutely nothing to do with the gold it made. It was all about the lessons it forced on people. It proved that wisdom has to triumph over greed. It showed that finding the truth sometimes requires that tenacious, relentless pursuit. And most of all, it taught that real power demands both prudence and rectitude. That's careful judgment and moral correctness. The real wealth was never the gold. It was the harmony it could either create or shatter.
And Krishna, in his wisdom, he refused to keep the jewel for himself. Instead, he placed it in the city treasury for everyone to see and gave it a new purpose. Its shine would no longer be a symbol of personal wealth, but a constant, glowing reminder for everyone to act with prudence, to always use careful, thoughtful judgment.
So, when you look at it, the Syamantaka Jewel was really a mirror. It just reflected the true nature of whoever was holding it. For Satrajit, it reflected his greed. For Jambavan, his folly. And for Krishna, his integrity. And that really leaves us with just one last thing to think about. The jewel was a test. If you were the one holding it, what would it reveal about you?